We're here this afternoon to talk to you a little bit about the views that we've gained from the children and young people about how they've experienced this current situation with coronavirus pandemic and some of the ideas they've shared with us that they would find useful going back to school. So really what we want to do is share those views back to you, children and young people out there. We hope you're either watching with your parents now or that your parents and school teachers might share this back to you on another date from the YouTube channel. So I am going to have a quick look now at what all of you from secondary and college told us about what it's been like to be at home for you. And there's a few quotes along the side as well, which I think gives a really good overview of the different things you've been through as well. So with you in secondary and college, we had 320 responses from you, and that was literally from year 7 up to year 13, as I mentioned earlier. So thank you very much. Being at home during the coronavirus for you, you can see there again another pie chart. Big number of you, it was okay. Some of you found it great, and then there was a small but important to recognise number of you that found it awful. You haven't liked it, and that was for very different reasons as well. Missing your friends, not feeling happy at home, and lots of general reasons of it being very different for you. But I'm sort of also heartened to know that there's a lot of you that did find it okay, and that comes through as we'll go through the routines and the activities and things that you found to do. So what did help you cope at home? So a lot of it again was that theme about relationships and connections. So again and again, family members came up. You were very committed to staying in touch with your friends and wanting to speak to them and see them. And also there was a lot there about teachers appreciating it when they rang to see how you were, having those Zoom and Google classrooms and emails and things like that. There were other relationships as well that are really important to you, such as ongoing counselling and therapy sessions, your church groups and other groups that you could really connect with and feel part of. And again, as it's not unusual at this time, and we ourselves are using the internet to communicate with you, it was a lot about phone calls, emails, social media, to stay connected. And you know, I think that's been a very important bit for all of us adults as well, that we actually could sustain some of these connections with people that we love. So the next part of helping you cope during this time was around routines and hobbies and activities that you were doing at home. I think, as Lauren and Kate have both said already, it's quite amazing the creativity that's going on out there and the things that a lot of you are doing. I know maybe not all of you have had the opportunities to do all of these things, but certainly those of you that responded to us with these questionnaires came up with lots and lots of things that were great. And what I found as well is, for the age group that you are, music came up again and again and again. So there's a lot of you that find a lot of motivation or a lot of lift and joy from listening to music. And it seems there's lots of cakes being baked out there, lots of being out in the garden and the fresh air. Luckily, we've had good weather for you to do that. I read about a video project that someone's been spending their time doing. There was some mention of online shopping, and I think I can share some of that as well. And you are actually doing some of the schoolwork as well. I think I needed to let the teachers know that even though you're at home, there is a lot of schoolwork going on as well with the other creative things. And those routines that you either your families help you put together or you put together yourselves were really, really helpful for you to manage and cope with this time. But as we have all keep mentioning, it hasn't been easy for you. And the other thing that came out was some of you have found it difficult to cope. And again, it's important to name that and to say that we heard you saying that to us as well. So there are lots of times when you did feel down and stressed. And there are a lot of you that are finding the experience very hard, and you're using those distractions of hobbies, activities, routines, relationships to help you reduce some of that stress. And I should imagine your parents and teachers maybe sometimes are helping you do that. But we have heard that it's been hard for you, and I think it's really important to say that that came across very strongly. And we hope that maybe from seeing some of these, even if you didn't have the chance to contribute to this, or you have a chance to listen to this, or your parents have, and you've been finding it hard, maybe some of these ideas that the other young people have shared that have helped them might be ideas that you could use yourself as well. So we hope it does give you a little bit of a thought there. So what was important to all of you? What things do you want to happen? And again, we've come back to our key themes of safety again. And it came up so strongly, and I was very impressed actually, the amount of knowledge you had and some of the thoughts that you had around how the coronavirus is spread, the ideas around safety, about distance, about hand washing, all of those things came through again and again and again. And as Lauren was just saying, it wasn't just about you staying safe, it was about the people around you being safe as well. You were uncertain about going back to school because you didn't want to take the virus back to your parents or grandparents, or maybe people in your family that are seen as in the vulnerable group. And that was all the language and words that you used. You knew about these things. So you've been clearly listening to the news, and this is very much a part of your life now. And I think as adults, that's something we really need to understand, that this is how you are seeing the world and understanding it. So it's been very useful to read how much knowledge you have about this time. As I mentioned earlier, and I'll only touch on this again quickly, there was a lot of thoughts about what would happen. Will you be doing exams? What's going to happen about your UCAS sixth form applications? What's going to happen with moving to a new form? With a new, what your grade's going to look like? Lots and lots of uncertainty that, as we said at the beginning, we don't know the answers to yet, but we are aware that this is a really important thing for you and something that you really want answers for. So again, it's just lifting that up for us and some of the other adults listening today to know that these things really, really matter to you. And, you know, your learning is important to you. And I think even some of those of you that might find school hard and may not always enjoy school, there's still some sense of certainty that you want to know what's going to happen next for you. And then finally, interlinked with that is you want us to talk to you. You want us to share the information with you. You want to know what's going to happen. I'm thinking of quotes that said, I don't want to be told on a Friday that I'm going back on a Monday. I want some time to get my head around going back to school. I want to be in the right space to go back to school. And I think actually that will resonate with some of the teachers and the adults as well, because we're still uncertain about what's going to happen. But it's really, really clear that you want us to share that information with you. And in some way, we hope that doing these questionnaires, giving you this information today and in the future, will help you feel like we are talking back to you and that we're listening to what you've told us. And that's something that all of us feel really, really strongly about. So again, as the others have said, thank you. And if these things don't reflect totally how you found it, we will give you the opportunity to talk to us more. Sarah, can I get you to finish us off?
Yes, so I had the absolute pleasure of looking at all of your responses from those who are in secondary or college and have actually still been attending school during this time. And the overwhelming majority of you have said, you know, that has actually been a really great experience for you. So I've got 46% of you said it was great and 44% of you said it was okay. So generally a very good experience. But as Sarah said, there is this 10%, there's this small group of you that actually this experience has been really difficult and really hard for you. And you've said that it's been an awful experience being in school. And reading some of your responses around why it's been very difficult really got to me and really touched me, because things you were saying were things that I was actually recognising in my own life as well. So what you've been saying, I can see in other aspects as well. So it has been hard for many people, and I think we really do need to appreciate that we all have our unique experiences, and they're all valid, and we need to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. So thank you so much for sharing those. So what struck me so much about your views about being in school was not necessarily the things that are going on, but the emotions and the feelings that's actually evoked in yourselves. And lots of you seem to be having really strong emotions, either one way, so really excited, really happy, really enjoying this, and some have gone the other way, so you're feeling very anxious, you're feeling worried, you don't really know what's going on, and that's actually quite difficult to sit with. It's difficult to have the uncertainty, and that was no different when we thought about people coming back into the school. So whilst you've been at school, there's been this sense that you've been at school, but school actually isn't school. A lot of you told me that we're talking about school, but school is not school. And school is now something different. It's a new thing. It might be because there's less, especially when we think about secondary schools that might typically have 1,000 children on site or 1,000 young people on site. And some of you are now in school with 5 or 6 people, with one teacher, 2 teachers, compared to your typical day where you're in classes of 30, you're seeing 5 different teachers, maybe more, you're the hustle and bustle. You've told me that school is quiet. School is a different experience. You're typically in one room. You aren't exploring the site as much as you would. And some people have liked that, and others of you have found that difficult because you haven't been seeing the same teachers that you normally have. You haven't had the same friends in there. So you've gone to school, but your friends are actually sat at home, and you haven't been able to communicate and contact as you would. So there's been so many mixture of emotions around it. And in particular, I think a lot of you, well, I know this because this is what I've been reading, a lot of you had one emotion, but then also another emotion. So you were saying to me, I would like to go back to school. I am looking forward to going back to school, but, and then the but might be, but I'm worried about being too close to people. I'm worried about the virus. I'm worried about this. So you might be looking forward to it. You're also weighing up the situation and considering the other aspects about what's going on. And I think this really sat with me because I've had those same feelings as well of thinking about going back to school, because as Lauren said, we've not been coming into school and seeing all of the lovely young people we get to work with. And I really want to do that. But there is a part of me that's thinking, well, actually the virus, are we flattening the curve? Is it still safe? What's it going to be like when I get there? Will I know if I need to stand 2 meters apart? Will there be hand sanitizer? All those little questions about how I know what's going to happen. And that's very much what you've told us as well. And if we go on to the next slide, we really asked you about sort of what's going to help you, what is going to make it better for you to come into school. And you can see down the left hand side, those themes are the same sort of themes that everyone's already been talking about. You know, you want connection, you have really enjoyed the connections that you've had with friends. So many of you told me about the Zoom calls, the WhatsApps, the Skype calls, all the different ways that you have been connecting with friends and family, and you want that to continue and also to increase before you go back. So having one big catch up all together, or I want to be able to go and see my friends outside of school before I come into school. So actually having that physical connection, that physical contact before you go into the sort of the learning and the school aspects of it. And information, I'm so impressed, as Sarah said, with the knowledge that you have all developed around this pandemic and the knowledge that you were sharing, and actually your real thirst for knowledge and understanding and the keenness to really understand what is going on. So for you, I really took that you didn't only want to know what was going to happen to you in your individual school, but you really wanted to know what was happening at the government. What does that mean for schools? What is your school then doing for that information? And ultimately, what does that mean for you as an individual? So it's not just about you, it's the whole system and how that information has been shared. So I really took that on board, that you wanted to make sure that what you were being told for you was really relevant across all aspects of your life. And it wasn't one rule for one place and one rule for another place. So that was really clear. And a lot of you with the information, it was around the safety aspects of it. You know, it was about, has the pandemic ceased? Are the death rates down? Has the curve been flattened? All of those things that we're getting through our government daily briefings, you want that information too. You want to know it, you want to be able to have access to it in an easy way and in a way that you can then make it relatable to you. Which also took you on to time. You want that information, but then you want to be able to understand that and prepare yourself before going back to school. So a lot of you said, I want 2 weeks, or I need a week, because although a decision's been made, you need to understand that and work that out for you and feel ready to do it. And I think that ties in so much with all the emotions that you were feeling around this pandemic, and actually needing time to sit with information to make it so you have it and you feel confident in that to be able to continue and move forward. So I think that aspect of time was really key, and for schools to appreciate that you might need time. So lots of you were saying to me, if I go into school and I do feel worried, I want staff to give me time and understand that it's the situation, and to really appreciate that actually sometimes you might just need a little bit more, and that day might be a more difficult day, tomorrow might be a better day. So having that time and slowly go back into it, not you go first day, all the lessons. You really wanted that slow ease back into it, so you're able to connect, feel confident, and just get used to the situation. We've had a long time where we've created new routines, we've created the new way of working, and we might have to change that and have time to develop the next way we do things. So that's really understandable that you need that time, and us as adults also need that time. So I'm really appreciative that you brought it up in such clear and accessible ways, really, and made it so obvious about why we need that time. So thinking of that, you also wanted consistency. You want to know what the plans are, and you want those plans to be the same. You don't want them to constantly keep changing. Lots of you said, I want to go back into school, but I don't want that to be for the first week and then be told next week I can't come into school, or the week after, oh, you can now only come in for this amount of time. You want a plan that is sustainable and that can be continued for a good amount of time. You don't want things to constantly keep changing, because that's unsettling, and that's unsettling for anyone. So I completely appreciate that you want to know what's going on and you don't want things to be constantly changing. And there was this whole idea around, it's the normal. So lots of you are saying, I want things to go back to usual, but not completely usual. Or I want things to go back to normal, but not fully normal. So there's an idea that you want consistency of what school was like before into your current one, but maybe a little bit different, which is where the safety measures really came into it. So you want aspects of school that you had before. So you want your lessons, you want to learn, you want to see your friends, you want the connection with teachers, but you want to know that the school is going to be clean. You want to know that there's going to be less people around you, that the 2 meter rule is going to be in place. You want to know where to go if you do need to wash your hands. You want all of those safety things, those real basic safety things, to make sure that you feel confident in your environment, so you are actually able to come in and then start to learn, which is something that we all talk about anyway. If we don't feel comfortable and we don't feel happy, then we're not ready to learn. And this was really, really evident when you were talking to me about the safety measures, because you often said to me, I'd like these safety measures in place so I feel okay, so I feel ready, so I feel like I can be in school. So having that in a really clear way and presented to you was something that was really going to help. And lots of you gave me so many great ideas of how schools can do this. You told me that, you know, you would love a leaflet. You'd like the school website to have the information. You would like to be able to have a Zoom meeting before you come into school to have a checkup and to be told what was going on. You thought maybe somebody could text your parents about the different rules. So all of these different ways you can access the information. You want it there, and you want to be able to access it as a young person, but also for your parents to be able to access it as well. So yeah, so there's so much information. As everyone said, there's been so much rich information that has come from you. This is just a small snapshot of what we've taken so far. So if these things don't resonate with you, as others have said, we really do want to hear from you, because everybody's view is so important and everybody's experience is really key for helping us understand how we can make sure coming back to school is a good and positive experience for everyone. So thank you so much for sharing so much already. And I really look forward to continuing to read what you've shared and think about this more and how we can support you.